Hello, everybody. It is the Last Raider, and we are back with another video. Back with DC's Superman, son of Kal-el. I'm gonna have to start reviewing this series because I'm gonna have to go back to number one, read through it, as cancerous as that has been, because this has been mildly entertaining of watching these people fall so flat on their face. It's ridiculous. But anyway, continuing in here, we're inbounding into comics today because DC Comics came out and said they had unprecedented orders for bisexual Superman. Looks like worst Superman sales in over a decade. Basically, DC is pulling a CNN. What is the meme where Joe Rogan's sitting back and says, "Yeah, man, I drink a lot of water," and it's got Brian Stelter in the next panel, and he's saying, "Joe Rogan claims to have drinking a liquid substance found in radiator coolant." For those of you that are wondering, that's the ivermectin thing that happened where they said Joe Rogan was taking horse dewormer. And they said, oh, he's taking a product that's known to be in horse dewormer, because in reality, they can't say that ivermectin doesn't do what Joe Rogan's using it for, because they don't really know. And if they do that, they are slandering a company. If it does turn out that, yeah, ivermectin does what Joe Rogan's using it for, it actually does it. Joe Rogan ended up taking a shotgun of stuff. The easiest thing to say is, well, could it have worked? More than likely, we can't really tell you if it does or not. So you could take it. It's not a miracle drug, whatever. By the way, going in here, DC's doing the same thing. They're saying unprecedented orders. Yes, you're going to see these aren't as cut and dry as you think it is. Anyway, continuing on. DC Comics claims their upcoming Superman, son of Kal-el, number 5 issue that featured Superman kissing a man is receiving unprecedented orders. I doubt this. And there's a reason I'll tell you right after we read through this. In a blog post on their website, DC claims following the news of the upcoming reveal of John Kent coming out as bisexual in issue number 5 of Superman, son of Kal-el, global fan excitement has led to more orders for the upcoming issue than the series' debut issue. This is deceptive, because I'm pretty sure they are getting more, but if you understand comic book sales in the last couple of years, especially with Marvel and the Western media, Marvel is lucky to beat 10,000 at times. Okay, they don't sell that many books. They ship a metric ton of books. But if you go into a comic shop, I went to one down in Florida and found most of the Berserker series. They actually did on their 3rd or 4th order of Berserker. That was the only reason they were there. There were actually people in there saying, yeah, they haven't made any new orders on this stuff. They said, we're probably going to throw most of these books out. I promise you could probably get all these books for free if you wanted all of the comic books. Just go to the back after they dump them in the dumpster and go dumpster diving. You'll find probably half of them will be in still plastic when you get done. That's how worthless these books have gotten to. Continuing on though. However, DC Comics doesn't actually reveal any data on what these unprecedented orders for the comic actually are. Interesting. Continue down here. While DC Comics doesn't provide any estimations for the book sales numbers are provided by the comic book sales tracking website Comic-Con. Now, Comic-Con, for those of you who don't know, Comic-Con tracks like all of the sales, usually monthly. You can go on there and see what books are doing really good, what books are selling a lot. And it's not a bad place to go because they actually give some pretty honest numbers. Anyway, continuing, Comic-Con estimates DC Comics sales of Superman, son of Kal-el, number 1, clocked in at 68,800 back in July when it first debuted. That was a good month for the 17th best-selling comic of the month. Now, you're going to see here how deceptive this is, because 68,000, when like Marvel's able to clock in like 10,000 books sold. That sounds pretty good. They're doing 6 times better than most Marvel books. This is the thing about numbers that are deceptive. And one of the best examples I can give you this is Missouri gun crime stats. A while back in 2017, a news reporter actually went back 3 years and said Missouri's gun crime had actually risen 3 times that, or almost 75% of what it was in 2015. It had risen 75% in 2017. And that sounds really bad until you look at the highest number of gun crimes, the highest record-breaking year, which was during the height of gun control in the state of Missouri. And in order to reach that level, you have to raise the gun crime rate would have to go up 6,000%. So it's all in what you compare it to. It's the same thing as some people say, you can beat a lie detector test. Well, some people don't know this. The way you beat a lie detector test is you give it a false positive. If your stress level on the test is really high when they're because what they do at a lie detector test, they check what your heart rate is, what your stress level is, what your perspiration rate is, how fast your heart's going, how much blood pressure you got. And they take that at what they believe is a normal level, and then they base all their questions afterward. If you elevate that, they base that off the test. They have to calibrate it for the same person. If you get calibrated at too high of a range, you can lie on the test and pass it completely. This is an old CIA trick. If you ever seen, Life Hacks, the guy says, you got to clench your butt and kind of just stress yourself out, just kind of like push. Or you know how some guys do and they just push blood out of their heads, like they're pushing their head and they just make their heads look like they're about to explode. They turn so red, veins are popping out. That's what you do. What's happening is DC is giving a false equivalency here. They're taking the book of the very first issue and saying they're going to see unprecedented sales for this, and you're going to see how bad this is. However, given DC Comics stopped distributing their books with Diamond Comic Distributors in favor of Lunar distribution, the numbers from Comic-Con from DC Books are rough estimates. Now listen, Comic-Con explains DC projections are from an initial order data set and thus handicapped amid Diamond's entries. Continuing down here. Needless to say, beating sales for the first issue should not be that hard for a Superman book. In fact, selling less than 70,000 copies for a new Superman book is absolutely abysmal. And this is why I said this is where the false equivalency comes into play. They're using a lower stat to say, so if they've sold over, what they're basically saying is if they've sold over 70,000 copies of the new Superman books, and they beat the first one, which is like 68,000. That's unprecedented is what DC is saying. Not so. When the series was rebooted, when Brian Michael Bendis took over the title back in 2018. Now remember this, when Brian Bendis took over the books, there was already problems had stirred up. This is what you're going to see the decline of Superman as they go through this. But when Brian Michael Bendis come in, there were longtime Superman fans who were petitioning DC, please do not let him take control of Superman, because right now Superman's got Lois, he's got his son. We like the direction this book is going, and Bendis will fuck it up. And he fucked it up before it was over with. That's why we're in the position we're in now. That's why I've said Superman to survive is going to need a full-blown retcon of what's happening right now. But continuing. Superman #1 during Brian Michael Bendis in 2018 sold 133,700 copies. Now, mind you, that's almost twice as much as the 70,000 copies needed to beat Superman Son of Kal-El #1. That's the false equivalency here. We're not going back to even Bendis. If you went back even further past Bendis, I guarantee you'd find hundreds of thousands of copies sold. Superman sells really well. In fact, the only thing that sells better than Superman would be Batman and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is the only other flagship character that can outsell Superman, because Spider-Man is more popular. People don't realize this. Continuing on, in June 2016, going back even further apparently, when DC launched their entire line with DC Rebirth, Superman #1 sold 118,434 copies, and Superman #1 sold and 5,380 copies. When DC rebooted their entire universe with the New 52 in 2011, Superman number 1 sold 118,376 copies. So you see, going over this is right before Bendis hit. It was selling well over 100,000 copies. Superman made money. Now it's barely making 60,000, and we've seen this. If you ever watch Batwoman started out really strong and starts going and just started bleeding off. Supergirl started strong, started bleeding fans off. The Flash has seen a less of a decline, but that's because it's gone woke later in the series, so there's a lot less woke content. The more of the get woke you see, the faster earlier in the series, the faster it goes broke. And we're seeing this with Superman, Son of Kal-El. They came out, they announced this. And there's a reasoning why I would say this is not working. Because Marvel is selling to the lowest common denominator in terms of customers. They're trying to sell to people that they believe, and they've believed all this hype for years, that there's massive support for the gay community. I'm here to tell everyone right now, that's not true. And I'm not saying this, I'm not bashing any gays. I do not care. I am simply dropping a simple truth. There is not as much support for the gay community as the gay community would like to believe. Case in point, gay marriage. When gay marriage was instigated back during Obama's administration, the first thing that happened was it was put to a vote by the American people. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 states voted yay by slim margins. The rest of the country was overwhelmingly no. And the idea was, we're going to put it to a vote in the entire country, and they thought it was going to work. We have gay marriage now. Why is that? Because the Supreme Court came in and said, we don't care about the vote. We say that gay marriage is a right, and therefore it's now a right. We're now interpreting the law to see that it is a right. That created a lot of animosity right after that happened, because there were people on Facebook and Twitter both saying, wow, the American people's vote is supposed to be the most powerful voice in the land, and the Supreme Court has now nullified it. So that created even more animosity. Mind you, you didn't have enough support before that vote hit to pass gay marriage. You have even probably less support now because of what the Supreme Court did. Now, this is not me saying that homosexuality is wrong. I'm not giving an opinion on that. As I said, this is me stating that simple fact on a metric that people will give their honest answer on. You do not have the support for the gay community that you think you do. It's just not there. The second thing also, which also hurts the sale of these books when you bring in the gay character, is you can't really do anything with gay characters. I think one of the new Superman books that have come out, it turns out his boyfriend is invulnerable. He literally can just phase through everything and not be harmed. And I'm like, yes. Tom Taylor had to do that, because if he hurt the gay guy, all of Twitter is going to lose their shit. We know what's going to happen. So you can't do anything with this character. This is why people sit back and say, whoa, why is it all these white guys seem to have better movies than everyone else? Well, there's a reason. Nobody gives a shit about the white guy. If he suffers, if he hurts, well, nobody cares. But as it turns out, to make a good story, suffering and getting hurt and having a character rise above that is a good story. So you automatically have handicapped yourself in this notion. As I'm stating here, you're selling to the lowest common denominator. And it's kind of like during, the 2018 election? Or was it 2018? Was it 2018? No, I think it's 2016. It was when Trump was going up against Hillary. I can't remember when. But in there, a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, we vote Hillary. Yeah, we're feminist. Yeah, we like women. We're that. And everyone was going, no, that's not what these people are doing. They don't really support this. They're just telling you what you want to hear. That's the same thing with the gay community. Why is it that someone would go out there and say, you'd see all this overwhelming support for the gay community? Simply put, a mob of people on Twitter will come after you and get your job yanked out from under you. They'll get you fired, and they'll try to starve you to death. So most people, to avoid the conflict, say, oh yeah, I support the gay community. And most of them really don't. That's why I've said, There's not as much support. And it's not me being mean. I'm not sitting there saying there's not support, so gays are wrong. I'm saying, simple fact, there's not as much support for it as everyone would like to believe. As the people who are supporting gay marriage and gays and homosexuality, there's not that much support for it. So you are firing at the very tiniest common denominator. And then when you fire at that point, you have the problem of also you're going to insult most of the gay community, and you have a problem of not all the gay community is going to be interested in a comic book, while you're also cutting off most of the majority outlier of the book. So you're automatically handicapping yourself. And that's what this book appears to have done. They have handicapped themselves to the point with this whole, oh, he's now a gay narrative. What's the rest of the story about? They really have nothing else. Can Superman suffer now? Because if he's bisexual, he's got a certain point on the progressive stack. And if you hurt Superman, who's bisexual, you're hurting. It's an insult and an attack on a gay personally. And there are people who act like this. Now, mind you, this is not all gays on the internet, but the loudest members of Twitter who are gay are crazy people. Okay, because they don't have, they're missing a few brain cells and some fuses to not say the quiet parts that they're thinking out loud. Okay, they have a bad habit of doing that. So when they come after someone, they feel like they've got power. These are people who don't understand, talking things out with people or being negotiable. They just understand power and violence. That's it. And like I've said before on this channel, violence is the language of stupid people. Y'all best be versed in speaking it. But continuing on here. Beating 68,800 is not unprecedented. It's pathetic. It's almost a 50% decline from Bendis's relaunch of the book. It's an over 41% decline from the 2016 launch with Rebirth, and an over 41% decline from the New 52, meaning it is past series back then were selling better than this one does, and it's got gays attached to it. It is literally get woke, go broke. You've seen this thing drop almost 50% constantly from multiple different issue number ones. But DC will come out and they'll pull the ivermectin move, which is, oh, hey, it's unprecedented sales. It's unprecedentedly low. It's unprecedentedly pathetic. It's unprecedentedly wrong. You should not be selling that low with Superman. Mind you, I think I said this in one of my videos before. Superman is a recognized icon. All right, you go to any country, there is no translation from English to whatever that country's language is. I promise you, I would bet money that any translation, you go to any country and you translate Superman from English to that native language, the translation is Superman. There may be a law in front of it or something else. I remember my my Spanish instructor from college from Chile, and someone asked him that question, and they go, how do you say Superman in Chile? He goes, Superman. And they go, what? He said, yeah. He said, it's like Coca-Cola. He said, they don't call it La Coca or anything. He said, it's Coca-Cola. He said, there's Americana from America that the word for it is the English vernacular. It doesn't come from there's no Chilean word for Coca-Cola. There's no Chilean word translation for Superman. It is Coca-Cola. It is Superman. Period. That's how recognizable Superman is. And you can barely hit, you think beating 70,000 or getting 70,000 in sales is impressive when this book is selling hundreds of thousands. There's no reason Superman right now should not be selling millions of copies. The problem is the people that are running everything don't know how to use Superman properly. Just straight up. Maybe DC was referring to how poorly the book sales were doing when they claimed it had unprecedented sales, because the estimates from Comic-Con for Superman, Son of Kal-El #1 are clearly unprecedentedly bad for a new Superman book. Yes, this is true. These people have not learned anything. They are getting woke. They are going broke. I don't know how to help DC or Marvel at this point. The problem is internally. You have a cancer within most of your comic book companies. The only way to save it would be to cut it out. But none of them have the balls to do it because they're afraid of the backlash. Ultimately, what needs to happen to DC and Marvel is they need to be brought to the brink. Probably going to get brought to the brink by Comicsgate. All hail Caesar. And at the end of the day, they are going to be dashed onto the rocks, or some businessman's going to come in there who does not give a damn, and he's going to start axing most of the department and rebuild it from the ground up, or completely disassemble them, sell off the characters, and be done with it. We can only hope. Anyway, folks, tell me what you think in the comments about all this nonsense with the whole Superman Son of Kal-El series going down. Is this get woke, go broke, or is it not? Do you think there's another reason? Tell me what you think in the comments. And as usual, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell for notification. And as always, stay safe, stay frosty. See you guys next video. Bye-bye now.